One daughter is a celebrated author, the other is a glorified typist. My dad announced this at their anniversary gala, beaming at 80 guests, and when he demanded my sister read a chapter aloud, the secret I exposed left the entire ballroom paralyzed. My sister Sophie walked into the Oakbrook Marriott ballroom 40 minutes late, custom silk suit, carrying a stack of pristine hardcovers, projecting the exhausted aura of someone whose time was worth $1,000 an hour. Every head in the banquet hall turned. Mine didn't. I was in the back corner frantically adjusting the HDMI cable for my parents' photo slideshow. That's where I always ended up. Nobody officially assigned me the role of tech support for their 40th anniversary party. It was just understood. Sophie arrived and absorbed the oxygen. I arrived and became invisible infrastructure. That's how our dynamic functioned since childhood, and I had surrendered to the current around the time I turned 25. Dad tapped his champagne flute with a salad fork just as the salmon was served. "We have two wonderful girls," he announced, gesturing toward Sophie with a pride that made his chest physically expand. One of them just hit the New York Times list with her brilliance. The other one? Well, she's still typing up little internet blogs in her pajamas. A polite chuckle rippled through the 80 guests. I kept untangling the projector cord. My uncle cleared his throat nervously. Everyone else offered that mild, sympathetic laughter people use when a joke raises the edge of cruelty, but the open bar is already paid for. Sophie offered a modest, downward-looking smile. She was an absolute master at that, absorbing praise built on my humiliation while pretending she was simply humbled by the moment. I had survived enough of these family spectacles to have a coping mechanism. Breathe in for 4 seconds, let the sting evaporate, fix the next problem. What none of them knew, what absolutely nobody sipping their overpriced Pinot Noir could possibly fathom, was that I had spent the last 9 months inside Sophie's head. I work for a high-end ghostwriting agency based out of Seattle. We specialize in executive memoirs. Last February, facing a $3,400 emergency vet bill, I took an expedited contract. The client submitted 30 hours of rambling, incoherent voice memos, and demanded a masterpiece. I recognized the voice immediately. It was my sister. For 9 months, I wrote her entire life story. I transformed her petty grievances into profound life lessons. I fabricated her spiritual awakening in Kyoto because she actually just got food poisoning in Cancun. I knew exactly which insecurities she wanted scrubbed from the record because she left frantic comments on the shared document at 2:15 and begging me to change the narrative. She paid the agency $65,000. She had zero idea writer 4409 was the sister she openly pitied. This wasn't a revenge plot. I needed the paycheck and did the job. I carried the secret alone. But as the anniversary dinner reached its peak, Dad raised his glass again. "Sophie, please, read us that passage from chapter 6, the one about overcoming family obstacles. It brings tears to my eyes." He paused, looking around the room to ensure everyone was properly captivated. I felt a sudden, heavy warmth bloom behind my ribs. It wasn't rage. It was the absolute exhaustion of carrying someone else's fiction. Sophie dutifully opened her book, clearing her throat to perform. I dropped the HDMI cable. I walked straight up to the head table, the microphone picking up my footsteps. The ballroom fell into a suffocating, dense silence. I stared directly at Sophie, not at my dad, just at her. Before she could read the first syllable, I spoke. I didn't yell. The obstacle wasn't the market crash. I recited flawlessly. It was the realization that my own ambition was the only shelter I could ever trust. Sophie froze. "That's page 114, I said. "You wanted the word shelter changed to fortresses on a Tuesday at 3 in the morning, but I convinced you shelter made you sound more vulnerable. Your voice note was exactly 4 minutes and 12 seconds long. Nobody inhaled. The clinking of silverware vanished completely. You paid the agency $65,000, I continued, my voice echoing slightly in the vast room. "I only saw 20 of it, which is fine. I just thought, since we're celebrating honesty tonight, you should know who actually wrote your truth." Sophie's pristine, camera-ready expression shattered. Her jaw went completely slack. Dad's champagne glass was suspended halfway to his mouth, his arm paralyzed in pure shock. I reached into my purse, pulled out my printed final invoice with the agency letterhead, and set it gently over her filet mignon. I walked out the double doors without looking back. I already knew the ending. I wrote it myself.